I tried this already and they gave me a weird message. So I'm assuming that I'm live. Let's look, shall we? This is just weird. How is everyone today? I'm assuming I'm live, so I'll talk. Yeah, this says I don't know. Okay, anyway, let's talk about this investor presentation because my, it actually wasn't that. There wasn't that much like earth-shattering news. They made money, all right, and it's not as much as they thought. One thing about Etsy investor presentations, and I will say, actually, let me start by saying, welcome to the channel. This is my tutorials channel. I'm trying to get this channel monetized so that when you watch this back, I can take the ads off of it because I have to do that for lives and for videos. I have to go in and I have to take the ads out because for non-monetized channels, YouTube puts ads on and we have no control over it. So I'm doing the stream here today. I wasn't planning on doing a stream this week at all, but this is too good. And it's interesting. Whenever they do an investor presentation, any company is going to put a good spin on things. So you're never really quite sure. But I have the Q1 presentation and the Q2 presentation. So I have a little thing to compare to, which is very interesting. I have put slow mode on and I put subscribe only for the commenting on. And that's just to keep, spammers out. Hopefully it'll slow them down. It won't keep them out, and I seem to have reached a point on YouTube where I'm attracting randos who like to just post weird stuff. I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's bad. It's just a waste of my time because I delete everything. I'm not one of these people that leaves spam comments up. I don't think that people need to look at that. Okay, so yeah, I will go and block people and that kind of stuff, and I don't care. The best thing about blocking people on YouTube is you're not really blocking them, but what you do is you hide them from the channel. So they could be on here right now posting and no one will see it. They see their own post, but nobody else does. So if you're posting junk and you think everybody's paying attention to you, nobody sees you. Go to a different channel. All right, so Etsy. Let's talk about Etsy's presentation. Now, yesterday was their Q2 investor presentation. It's very weird because I'm looking at these numbers going, ooh, they didn't make as much as they thought. And the investors are like, woo. It makes absolutely no sense to me what the stock market does in response to these reports. It just doesn't make any sense. And clearly they're looking at long-term, like they're saying, what's the outlook? They're not just looking at what happened, but they're looking at what they think is going to happen. It's all speculation. But there were some kind of interesting things that happened. And the first thing, as I block this, the first thing is that in the first quarter, they reported that there were 5.5 million active Etsy sellers. All right, that's the first quarter. And 89.1 active Etsy buyers. Now, the way that they define that is it's within the last year, one transaction is an active buyer and one transaction with Etsy is an active seller. So that means if you list one thing in a shop and then you leave and never come back, you're still an active seller for the next year. Okay, so it's one transaction to Etsy or one transaction on Etsy for buyers. So in the first quarter, we had 5.5 million Etsy sellers and 89.1 million Etsy buyers. Okay. Now, they kept saying that they had added 6 million active sellers in the last quarter. And they were saying, we advertised, we got all these active sellers in. But the numbers that they're reporting were actually lower than Q1. So it says in the second quarter, they had 5.3 million active Etsy sellers, which is 200,000 less. Okay. This might tie in to them removing shops. And also people that started selling during the pandemic who started a shop. Again, remember, it's one transaction. So if you list one thing and then leave, you're still considered an active seller through the next year. But we know that a lot of people started shops and then just left and never did anything. So I think those numbers are starting to go back to normal. And I don't remember, I should have written down, like in 2019, it was only like 2.3 million. It was a lot lower. And it really, a lot of people started selling on Etsy during the pandemic. So we're at 5.3 million active Etsy sellers, which is less than the first quarter. But again, that could be the drop off as people who had started shops just never came back or whatever. Because we know that that happens a lot, right? But the buyers is 88.1 million. So on paper, it says that they lost a million active buyers, but they also said that they increased 6 million active buyers. So again, that's attrition. It's people like within that year, a lot of people bought one thing in 2020 and never came back to Etsy. So in the first quarter, they could still have been included in that active buyer number. And even though they added 6 million people as active buyers in the last quarter, they still lost a million overall because just of the way they calculate it and that kind of thing. So I thought that was interesting. And they did say this is interesting. They said that the people who they added to the marketplace who are like that active buyers, I think it was since I want to say since COVID started or the act after COVID. Let me see. Okay, since the pandemic. So they're kind of defining the end of the pandemic is when people could go back out. So beginning of 2022, right? That's when the vaccines were out, people had been exposed, whatever, immunity was higher, whatever. But people were out motoring about, you know, and they used some kind of a weird term. I can't remember what it was, but it was something that implied that there are more people out and about shopping in different places. And they said that definitely had an effect and it dropped Etsy's, revenue based on that. And that makes sense. Let me see. Cabbage Patch Soap says, I wonder if some of those lost buyers were also some of the shops that went inactive. It could be. Yeah. I mean, it just makes sense that when people had to shop online, Etsy would have more buyers. That just makes sense. And then as people, again, out and about, we're free, we're free. I was at the post office when things started opening up and things around here never really closed. People were social distancing and wearing the masks and everything, but things were open. But when people stopped having to wear the masks, that was when everybody's like, woo, let's go to the mall. And there was a guy in there and I was talking to the people at the post office. I think my orders had dropped and I was taking so many orders during the pandemic because more people were shopping online. It was just how it was. And I said something about, oh, I'm not getting as many orders because, people are out shopping at the mall. And this guy who was in line or he was buying something next to me, he's like, I want to go to the mall. Let's go to the mall. He was all enthusiastic. It's like, yeah, you and everybody else, so online shoppers are just naturally going to drop off. That's normal. But they did say that since 2022, the buyers who they have added to the marketplace actually spend more than the people who were added during COVID. That makes sense because if you are forced to buy stuff online, then it doesn't necessarily mean that you're seeking out stuff that's more handmade or unique or whatever. You're just buying stuff online, right? Mary says, I'm frozen. Just let me see what it's doing over here. Refresh your screen. I don't see it frozen. I don't know. So that would make sense. Okay. And since they've been doing a lot of brand advertising, brand marketing, which is where they're advertising Etsy as a whole. And these ads are very geared toward custom stuff, handmade stuff, personalized stuff, and that's going to naturally be more expensive. So I think that makes sense too. All right. So they've said that the people who have been added to Etsy as active buyers, which is the 6 million that they're looking at, they actually spend more per order. Like their average order value is higher than people who were added during the pandemic. So that's good. I mean, it shows that people are spending more, whatever. Now, I don't really care about all of their revenue stuff because what happens whenever any company, Etsy especially, whenever they present their numbers, they always conflate things. They put things in different categories. They move things around. And Etsy is very, I want to say tricky. It's just their accounting changes. Like sometimes they'll have ads in one category, then they move it. And so you can't really track how much is going on. And there are several times in here where it says, okay, now we're including all of its ELO 7, Depop, and Reverb. Those are the other 3 marketplaces that the Etsy umbrella owns. So, and they call it the Etsy, wait a minute. Let me see what it says. They have a specific name for it. It's subsidiary marketplaces, but it's like the Etsy, what do they call it? The Etsy, it's something like the group, the something of brands. I don't know. They call it something, but there's 3 extra marketplaces that Etsy can add those numbers. Like they could say, we have X million active sellers. And I actually looked up online yesterday to see if other people, like how many active sellers were there, because I couldn't find it. And everybody was reporting 7.5 million active sellers. But it's not that many, but what they're doing is they're just pulling the first number that they find, and that number includes all of the sellers on all of the marketplaces. All right, so on Etsy specifically by itself, it's 5.3, is that the number I said? 5.3 million sellers, okay? If you add everything else in, that number is higher, but we're just talking about Etsy. I don't care about the family of brands or whatever they call it. I don't care. So on Etsy, let's talk about what they said. Our first focus, because there's a few things in here that were very interesting. And yeah, it might explain some things if you're international and your orders have dropped or whatever, you know. Okay, so I'm just going to go through their report on their product. Now, product, when Etsy talks about it, is not things that we make. Product is things that they do, like their ads, Etsy ads, shipping labels. It's things that they sell to us, okay? So search is a product for Etsy. And they say, we continue our journey toward best-in-class search. All right, whatever. I'm not even going to read this whole thing. But they say they have been making great strides in search. And one thing that I thought was interesting is that they said that, okay, wait, Mrs. Quill says, grateful for the stream. Where do you actually watch these reports? It's on the investor page. And I actually dropped a link to it, I think to this report. If you go to Etsy homepage, scroll all the way to the bottom, click on investors, and then at the top it says events and presentations. That's where they have all of their events. They do this on there. And if you sign up, they will send you emails when something's coming up or when they add something to the calendar. Okay. And I love these. And what's really interesting is when they do a tech conference, like they're a speaker at a tech conference, because that's when they go on and they brag about all the stuff they're doing. Oh, and we're changing the search engine in this manner. And then they tell you what they're doing. You're like, oh my God. Okay. So it's very interesting to hear, and they never give away all their secrets, but they do give you a good indication of where they're going. Okay. Okay. So basically it says we continue to improve our deep learning models. Okay. Resulting in better understanding of language and cultural nuances, raising relevance. Are the search results getting better for you guys? They always seem okay for me, but some weird stuff still comes up. Okay, so maybe they are getting better. It says they also decreased dead-end search results by approximately 30% since the beginning of the year. That means that they're filling searches in if there's a keyword that doesn't really fit or there aren't many things on it. And you know how I took the word Fatumchuk and made that one listing be the only one on there? You can't do that anymore because Etsy's filling searches in for things that might be related, even if it's not related. It might be, so they fill it in. That's what they're talking about, dead end searches. Like, we didn't find anything for this listing. They used to say that. Now they just show you a bunch of junk. Okay. I'm not sure if that's an improvement or not. Okay. Let me see what else. The one interesting thing that they said, I'm trying to find a good place to put this paper. It's irritating. One interesting thing that they said is that they use 3 search engines. So it's kind of 3 formulas that are working together. One is for the word matching. So do you have the keyword in your title? That's the basic search engine. Okay. One is the XWalk search engine, which looks at relationships between customers and listings that they click on and other customers and other listings and that kind of thing. The other one is I think they refer to it as like a context search engine. And if you go to the investor presentation and download the presentation slides, you'll see this in a little graphic. And it's basically the search engine trying to figure out what you mean if you type something in, but you're not sure what you're looking for. I think most people know what they're looking for. Excuse me, but apparently Etsy knows better. Okay. So that's what they're doing. They're trying to figure out the context of what you're looking for in combination with the XWalk algorithm, which looks at relationships, and the word algorithm, which is just basically matching the words. So this does make sense because that's how it seems to have been working. And it also means that the exact word order matching, especially for long tail keywords, it's always been like this, but it's more obvious now. The exact word order matching for long tail keywords is not as important because Etsy's looking at other things. Okay. Now that is not to say that you don't need to use long tail keywords. That's all you should be using. That's all you should be using. And the way that I've done search has not changed at all because I do very white hat search. I'm not trying to trick the search engine. I'm just trying to help it. Okay. And I was thinking that I might start a keyword thing where I do keyword lists. I'm thinking about this. I'm kind of shifting. I'm shifting. I'm not doing a pivot. I'm just doing a shift. I'll talk about that later. Okay. Let's get back to this. Okay. So this also says, so there's that they have these 3 search engines going, like 3 different formulas that work together to give you the search results. So think of it as exact words, relationships between listings and people, and context. And yeah, it's a little thinky, but it makes sense if you can see what they're doing. It makes sense. They also said our visual discovery work. Now, visual discovery is like browsing. That's like the social media stuff where they want to put things in front of you. You might also like these visual discovery. Here's the Etsy Explore app, visual discovery. They want people to see things and be interested in it just because they saw it. So that's visual discovery. Okay. That's not searching for something. That's actually seeing it and going to the listing from something that's not the search engine. And there's a whole section about this kind of stuff in the eShop program. Etsy has never been just about finding things through search. And you have to understand that if you're going to be a longtime seller on Etsy. You have to use the whole system. And I've been using I haven't done any for the Explore app, but I was going to today. I haven't done it yet. But this is something that they're actually talking about, visual discovery. That's their phrase. And they're talking about introducing video for buyer reviews, providing, extra visibility that way. And people do respond to video. People respond to videos in reviews a lot stronger than just a 5-star, because you can see it. It makes it seem like a real thing, right? It's a real product. When you go to a store, you can pick things up and turn it around and hold it and look at it. You can't do that online, but a video will give you that kind of experience where you can kind of see something in 3 dimensions, right? Okay. Mrs. Quill says, my searches seem relevant, but I've noticed most of my traffic now is from my website or Etsy suggestions, or rather not suggestions, visual discovery. I'm found when people are liking similar things. That's the XWalk. Okay. That's the XWalk part where they're looking at the relationships between listings. Because if somebody likes this thing over here, then Etsy's looking, who else has liked that? There's 10 other people who have liked that. What else have those 10 people liked? Because if they have the same common interest, then the things that these people liked might be something that this person likes. So we'll show them that. That's the XWalk. That's the connections and that kind of thing. Okay. And again, it has nothing to do with typing something into search. It has to do with what people are clicking on. All right. Let's see. They talked about that Etsy market shopping event. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Oh, now this was interesting. Okay. And I'm always interested in seeing what the investors are asking, because these are people who are representing Etsy through big investment firms. Like they are assigned Etsy as part of the investment firm's portfolio. So they keep on top of everything Etsy's doing. And I'm always interested in seeing what questions they ask, because that can tell you what they're worried about. It's like, what are they interested in? What are they worried about? Because they kind of can see down the road. Like they kind of know what to look for to see down the road. And I don't always do that because I'm not in this world, right? One of them asked, because they mentioned, Josh said, we've improved our ranking capabilities of Etsy ads by continuing to close the semantic gap and leveraging new machine learning techniques to capture intrinsic styles and properties. That's a big blah, blah, blah to try to say Etsy ads are getting more accurate. I don't know if that's true or not because I haven't been using the ads. And it says it's providing more relevant ad inventory without compromising conversion rate. So they have been working on the Etsy ads algorithm, which has stunk for years. It's been terrible for years. They say that they've been working on it and it's increasing the conversion rate without, well, it didn't say that. It said it's providing more relevant ad inventory without compromising. So that could mean it's just staying even. See, that's you have to be careful with this stuff. It doesn't say that it's increasing conversion through ads. It's saying that it's not affecting it while they're tweaking the Etsy ads algorithm for search. Okay. And the ads algorithm has always been separate from the organic search algorithm. So that's what they're talking about. So they're saying what they've been seeing is that the Etsy ads are getting more accurate and it's mimicking organic ads or organic search better. Okay. So I don't know if that's necessarily true. Like I said, I haven't been using the ads recently because they're so expensive. For my price point, it doesn't work. Ads tend to work better for people who have a higher price point and you can absorb the cost of the ads to get to the sale price. I can't, so I don't use them. And, you know, I don't know who these people are who are using the ads. I know some of them and they have a higher price point, but it said that Etsy sellers have increased their ad budget 80% in the last quarter. What the heck? Who are you? Who are you? And I would say if you've been increasing your ads budget, you better make sure that you're actually making a profit. And you might be. I'm not saying it's impossible. Like I said, if your price point is higher and you can absorb the cost, that's fine. But they said that there's been an 80% increase in year to date. That means in 2022, year to date spending on ads. That means they're not going to change the ad system anytime soon. Every single time they do one of these, I'm hoping that the ad spend has dropped. I'm hoping that people have said, I'm not making enough from this, so let's change it. And that will give them a reason to change it and give us the cost per click control back. It's not changing. They're not going to change it because people are spending more, and that's what they want. Okay. And what I was talking about, one of the investors asked, at what point, okay, and they also to fill this in a little bit, they also said that they've put ads on the homepage now, okay, because they think that the organic search and ads are matching up enough that they can do that without making it look weird. So they've started to put ads on the homepage, and it's probably based on things that person has looked at before. So it kind of goes along with the rest of the things on your homepage when you get to Etsy. And one of the investors said, have you maxed out ad placement? And they've also increased ad placement, I think, in some of the search results, because it used to be 3 rows of organic and 1 row of ads. And I've seen a lot of pages where it's 2 rows of organic and one row of ads. So one of the investors said, where else can you slap ads? They basically want to know, because ads are a 100% revenue positive thing for Etsy. It's not something that they have to maintain the cost of the ads or whatever, the servers and all that stuff. But it's not something that they need to pay Google for. They are taking all that money in, right? And it's to their advantage to show the correct ads because then people buy more and they also get fees for that. But anyway, so the investors always want to know, are you going to increase ad placement? Where else are you going to put ads? Where else are you going to put ads? You're going to increase ad placement? Where are you going to put ads? And Josh said, see, it's eventually it's going to be like half ads and half organic if they keep going at this rate. I don't think they will, but he said something about you have to be careful when you're working on the algorithms that if ads algorithm is getting better and it doesn't increase or it doesn't decrease conversion rate to have more ads on the page, then that's okay. But if you load the page up with ads that are irrelevant, then nobody clicks on it and revenue decreases, and that's not okay. So it's a balance. But he said, if we can get the ads algorithm to a place where it is as accurate as organic, then we might have more opportunities to show more ads. Okay. So that's a lot of maybe, might, possibly, but they do have that. That was the answer that he gave the guy. Okay. Let me see the questions. My cost per click is higher than ever. Yeah, I can't afford Etsy ads. I can't afford them. Okay, I spent $45 on ads for $47 on sale. That's negative profit. Yeah, you have to be really careful because you see these. It's like I just did a video on this channel where the seller was running ads and said a lot, most of the sale, like 90% of their sales were coming through ads. But when you did the math, every single click on an ad was losing them money. So you actually would be making money if you don't run the ads. So you have to do the math, and that's just something everybody needs to look at on your own, because ads might work for some people and they won't work for others, but it might look like they're working. But then when you actually sit down and figure it out, you're losing money or you're just breaking even. So you're basically working for nothing. And I would rather take a nap. Okay. And I did say in this video, there are strategies where people on YouTube are saying, start an Etsy shop and just run tons of ads and throw $500 a day into ads. And you're going to lose money, but it's going to build up that listing quality score. Is it worth it? You have to decide whether that's worth it to you. And it doesn't build up that quality score for that long. So anyway, all right. Do you think that Etsy can approve you to use their affiliate links in your ads? You had asked me this in another question. Let me read the whole question that you have, because this is complicated. Okay. Do you think Etsy can approve you to use their affiliate links in your ads so that you can see where else people are going other than your products and with some cash back? No, I don't think that's legal, like legal as far as the affiliate program goes. Well, because your store still is really a marketplace promoting the competition along with your products. And the only way to win something back is that they allow you to use affiliate links. I know that you had posted about this. I'm going to have to go back. Lenny, are you in my Facebook group? If you are, could you post that in there? And if you're not, just post it in a comment under this video, because this is very complicated. And I would have to go back and look at the affiliate program. My feeling is that I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to get into it now because I don't know. I don't think you can do that. And if you're just doing it for the tracking, it's not worth it. Okay. Amy says, I'm on the fence on ads because I don't make a lot of profit from them, but I do aim to get repeat buyers. Yeah, see, that's the thing. But it might, how much are you willing to spend for a repeat buyer? And that's the question. And it's going to be different for everyone. Okay, so anyway, that's what they said about ads. Let me get back to this. They said they did have an increase in downloads of the app because they did a few different things, prompted people to download the app, blah, blah, blah. They announced a new Etsy purchase protection program. Now, this is where Josh says things every now and then that just make me mad. But, honestly, it's not wrong. Let me see. Low frequency buyers. Let me see. I have to find the quote because I wrote it down. Oh, here it is. Okay. The first thing he said years ago was that people don't care about handmade. And I'm like, at first I was like, how dare you? But then I thought about it. I was like, yeah, he's right. People don't care about and his example was always, they don't wake up in the morning saying, I want to buy something that's handmade. They wake up and say, I need to buy a birthday gift for my mother. Okay. I understand that. But on the other hand, it shows a mentality of devaluing our work. Okay. But it's true. People don't care about handmade. They don't care. Some people do. Not everybody. Some people do. But the majority of people, and especially when Etsy is advertising Etsy as a platform, a lot of people who are shopping on Etsy now don't know that the site was originally a handmade platform. And it was always vintage and supplies also. Okay, so don't get all ruffled up about that because I sell all of that. I sell everything that Etsy has on their list. So, but a lot of people come to Etsy not knowing that it's handmade and they don't care. They're just looking to buy something. So what he said yesterday, and I'm going to have to let this settle. I don't have to let it settle. I know he's probably right. But again, it kind of shows that mentality of, not taking us seriously. I don't know. I think he's right, though, whether I like it or not. Okay. He was talking about the purchase protection program, and he said the reason that they're putting this in place is to get buyers to feel more comfortable buying on Etsy as a platform. Okay. Because brands that are known to have your back engender loyalty. Okay, that's true. If people know that a company will give you a refund if something goes wrong, if they will support you, you know how it feels when you have like customer service actually helps you. That makes people happy. It makes you feel loyal to that company as opposed to not having a chat button. Not just saying, okay. But what he said yesterday is Etsy is where you're buying an unbranded product from an unbranded seller. And I'm like, you know what? The first two searches that bring the most traffic to my shop is a cake to remember with all the words separate and a cake to remember, which is typed in as one word in the Etsy style. Those are brand searches. Okay. People aren't coming to Etsy and searching for random, they are like, but a lot of people come to Etsy and search for my shop. A lot of people go to Google and search for my business. So that, it's just when they say things like that, it kind of shows the mentality. It's the big brother mentality. Okay. Like Etsy is here to protect all of you. We're going to pat you on the head and send you on your way. And we're going to take care of the dirty work. They don't take care of the dirty work, number one. So anyway, but his point was that since they're doing brand marketing for Etsy, like come shop on Etsy, all these TV commercials, come shop on Etsy, then people trust Etsy as a brand. And if Etsy has a seller and buyer protection, then people will feel more comfortable shopping. That makes sense, but it still rubs me the wrong way. The way that it's presented, it just rubs me the wrong way. Okay, the only dirty work they take care of is in the remittance of sales tax. That's true, but you know what? That's worth it. Oh my God. Well, to a certain extent, because I still have to do it for my website. But yeah, so and just things that they've said over the years, like the ads, when they changed the ad system to be this like it's idiot proof, basically. It was because Etsy sellers tell us that they don't want to have to do the hard work of math. They just want to make pretty things. I'm like, shut up. It just makes me want to tell them to shut up and give us a little respect, But on the other hand, I see his point. So it's irritating. I don't like disagreeing with someone and yet seeing their point because I do that all the time. It's hard to live that way, but you have to be able to work with cognitive dissonance, and it's a hard thing to do as a human. Your brain doesn't like to work that way. Okay. So let's get back to this. That was the purchase protection comment that kind of made me go, All right. In the international markets, which means shipping from one country to another country, doesn't mean like international being not the US. It means any sale that goes between two countries. It says that they increase delivery transparency, they improve that kind of stuff, blah, blah, blah. It says we continue to focus on seller performance and invest in their growth. You mean us unbranded businesses that don't like to do no math? I don't like to do numbers. Stop it. Okay. I also don't appreciate. Never mind. Okay. Anyway, it says including this is how they invested in our growth, including adjusting the star seller rating criteria to make the badge more achievable. So basically, we lowered the bar. And that's better for everyone. Like in what way? Okay, anyway, they should just get rid of that stupid program. But anyway, then it says we launched the new Sell on Etsy app, blah, blah, blah. Now, this is interesting to me. We expanded enforcement of our handmade policy to continue to protect the integrity of our marketplace. Continue to protect. When was it ever protected? And in April, we began proactively reviewing listings for potential handmade violations. In fact, in the second quarter, we removed approximately 50% more listings than in all of 2021. So basically, they're saying that in the second quarter, they removed 50% more non-compliant to the policy handmade listings, right? So things that said they were handmade when they weren't, than in all of 2021, 50% more. Well, that could mean that in 2021, they removed 8, and in the second quarter, they removed 12. What are the actual numbers? I'm not impressed by that. Okay, but then they said this interesting thing. They also published our 2021 transparency report, which reviews policy enforcement activities for the year and can be found on the investor relations website. Now, I went to the investor relations website and I had to search for 15 minutes before I found a link that went to this thing. And then there was another link in that article that went to it. So I have put that link in the description of this video if you want to see their transparency report, where it talks about like how many shops in the US were taken down, how many listings were taken down, that kind of stuff. So you can go look at that there because I could not find it. It took me a while to find it. And that's what I was doing before I came on here. Okay. And then they were talking about the marketing. As far as the marketing goes, they're increasing TV ads, they're decreasing offsite ads. So for the people that said, has anyone noticed that you're getting fewer traffic or fewer sales from offsite ads? The answer is yes, because they did decrease that spend quite a bit, if I remember correctly. But they increased TV ads, which are brand ads for Etsy. Okay. So it's kind of a mixed bag there. In the second quarter, anyway, I'm not going to get into that. That's all the number stuff. I'm not interested in the number stuff. I'm more interested in what they say, and we see what they actually do. Okay. Now, okay, let's go to the questions. Now, does anyone have any comments here? I see that there's been some comments. I enjoy the comment, that is complete BS. Yes, it's true. And that was about them saying that we're brandless. Beth says they set up their search algorithm based on individual products, not the brand name of the shop it's under. Yeah, exactly. So, Etsy does have a lot of non-serious sellers, which gives us a bad name. Yeah, see, this is the thing. I know what he means, but at the same time, it still irritates me. Okay, but I know what he means. Okay, it buys into the theory that Etsy is more concerned for buyers, not sellers. Yeah, that's not a theory. Etsy is more concerned about buyers because if there weren't any buyers, then they wouldn't make any money. And honestly, 5.3 million sellers, so half of them could leave. And as long as they still have buyers, there's still going to be stuff that they can buy. So yeah, I don't think that that's even a theory. I think that that's far. Yeah, I mean, they obviously are more concerned with buyers than sellers. Okay. And I'm not mad at them for that. I just think that's a fact. Because yeah, Beth says because sellers are a dime a dozen. In a way, that's true. I mean, I understand that's like I would say that like, oh yeah, we're nothing, but honestly, it's kind of true because there's always going to be more people who are willing to start an online business. Anyway. All right. Mrs. Quill says that enforcement actually is going after artists I follow because their work was stolen and being resold on Alibaba and stuff. Yeah, I felt so bad for the issues it caused to legit handmade sellers. And see, that's the problem. Yeah. And I've had my listing. There are several of my listing photos that have been stolen and are on Chinese websites where they're selling whatever. I don't know what they're selling, but they're selling the stuff to people using my photos with my watermark on them. It's got my logo on the pictures. They don't care. So whatever. Okay, so let's go to the questions that the investors asked. The first one, has there been a change in the seller base since you increased fees? And they're like, no. Again, people will always, in Etsy, really, the fees are not as expensive as other platforms. So, but then he says seller sentiment is up. I was like, I don't know who they're asking these questions. I would love it. Josh, if you're watching this, hey, Josh, invite me to Brooklyn. I'll come. I'll be there. I'll sit down with you. Let's talk. And I'm very even-minded. I can see both sides. Like I say, I understand what you're saying about the branded stuff. It still pisses me off, but I understand. I know what you mean. Okay, I can see it, but it still irritates me. Invite me to Brooklyn. I'm coming. I'll be there. I'll be there. Okay, anyway. Let's see. Then I talked about the new buyer spending more. Let's see. Now, see, this was the interesting thing to me, that they were talking about how many active buyers they had joined the platform, right? But then if you look at the numbers, it's not actually like that. And somebody asked them about less GMS, which is the gross merchandise sales, because it's down a little bit. Okay. And he said that there is a decline in active buyers in Q2 over the 12-month period. Okay, and the year over year is flat. Somebody was saying, I don't know. He says buyers who are buying spending as much. So, but there's a very slight decline in active buyers in the second quarter. And that's what the numbers do show. So just remember when you're listening to these things and when you're reading the stats, that all these articles will be slapped up there with the wrong numbers because they're not looking at the whole picture and the whole thing. You really have to go and kind of look at all the different numbers and stuff. That's why the investor questions are interesting to me, because they actually pay attention to all the details. So, okay, inflation, now this, we should all take note of this. Okay, this is important. One of the investors asked, how are you handling inflation? Are sellers increasing their prices? And can you educate them to do this? Okay. Number one, we should be increasing our prices. If you're seeing supply cost increasing, my silicone went up. The cost of my silicone, I don't know if you can't see it back there. The price of my silicone went up. I had to increase prices, and it went up like 40%. It was a big increase. So I had to increase my prices. So they wanted to know, if they haven't increased their prices, can you educate them to do this? And the meaning of that is we want them to charge more so that we have a higher take rate on the fees and the investors make more, right? Okay, because that's all the investors are worried about is take rate. How much did Etsy keep? Okay, and Josh's response was sellers are not raising their prices. Why not? You guys raise your prices, okay? And then it says that they might give us more education around this. So just be prepared that they said, we've been looking at this and we've been thinking about maybe we need to roll out some information about this. So just be ready that they're going to tell us to start raising our prices soon, but you really should be doing this anyway. Okay. And then he was also talking, this was kind of a long answer. He said, because Etsy now is starting to see, because they're looking at brick and mortar sales. So they're starting to see like Target and all these other stores that bought a lot of inventory that's just sitting there now because of inflation. They're starting to see those stores actually cut prices. So they're seeing a lot of sales. And they said over 5 years, here's a quiz for you. Everybody guess. Over the last 5 years, what's the average price increase from Etsy sellers? So in 5 years, what percentage have people increased their prices by? 5 years. Okay, so in the last 5-year period, what's the average percentage that people have increased their prices? Mrs. Quill says 20%, 10%, 10%. This is 5 years, okay? 5%, 10%, 35. It's 9%. So the 10% is pretty accurate. Okay, that was a pretty close guess. 25. Yeah, it's only 9%. Okay. So in 5 years, people have only increased their prices 9%. And then Josh said that they've seen an increase in Etsy sellers running ads and sales, not ads, sales and giving out coupons like discounts. So he says, based on that, the average price increase is back to zero because people are giving away all the price increases that have happened over the past 5 years. Look at your pricing, check the price of your materials, because that makes no sense. Prices have gone up in the last 5 years. So if Etsy decides to come and educate people, I hate that word educate. We're going to educate you. Like, shut up. I'm going to educate you. But I'm telling you now, if you haven't raised your prices in 5 years, you probably need to, because prices have gone up across the board for supplies, for everything. And if you guys could give this video a thumbs up, that would be good. Yeah, but definitely think about raising your prices, because he said, this continues, it says sellers are using sale tools that make any increases flat. So we're essentially, over the last 5 years, people have increased their prices very little, and then they're offering sales in order to try to make sales. And so you're not making any more money. Okay. And that doesn't, I don't like that. Okay. I don't like that for you. I raise my prices all the time. If something happens, I'm like, I'm raising my price. I don't care. There you go. Okay. How should investors think about staffing levels? Now, we've all seen this news report that Shopify is decreasing their staff by 10%. Amazon has said it's overstaffed. So they asked, how is Etsy looking at staffing right now? Now, what happened with Shopify, the CEO was saying they all basically just went crazy during the pandemic and hired too many people too fast. Etsy says that they did not go on a hiring spree during the pandemic, and they actually take time to interview people and make sure that they're hiring the right people. So they feel like their staffing levels are fine right now. They're not laying people off. They're just not going to be hiring as quickly because they feel like their staff is okay. So if you work for Etsy, then you're fine. They're also closing, I saw this story, they're closing their San Francisco office, Etsy is, because people are working from home. Not as many people are using the space, and rents in San Francisco are crazy. So that's actually a good financial decision. Don't look at that and say, oh, Etsy's losing, Etsy's losing an office. No, that's a good financial decision, because I don't know how much you spend on rent for an office building in San Francisco, but I have a friend who lives there, and she was looking for an apartment. It was going to be $6,000 a month for either a 1 or a 2 bedroom. It was nothing major. That's a lot. I don't know how anybody can afford to live there, but yeah, so that's actually a good thing if Etsy closes that office. Don't worry about that if you see that in the news. It doesn't mean anything. It just means they made a good decision. Okay. Now, they talked about performance marketing, which I believe is like offsite ads and things like that. Okay. There's brand marketing, which is the TV ads that talk about Etsy. And then there's performance marketing, which is offsite ads. I'm not sure exactly what they lump into that, but they said that varies dynamically with demand. And if demand goes down, then they pull back on their ad spend, which is fine. That makes sense. And they spend more on ads in the second half of the year than they do in the first, which also makes sense because that's the heavy advertising season. And ad rates go up a lot around the Christmas season, just in general. So if you have a blog and you have ads on your blog, you're going to get paid a lot more in December than you will in January, because in January, people stop spending because nobody's buying. So they stop spending on ads. So that makes sense. They're going to spend more on offsite ads coming up. And they said they can spend more now on offsite ads because of higher lifetime value, which means how much they get in fees out of us because they've raised the fees. So now they're saying they refer, whenever Etsy refers to this stuff, they're talking about the sellers, right? The sellers are paying higher fees. Etsy gets a higher percentage in, so then they have more money to spend on ads. So they say they are going to be spending more on offsite ads coming up. The purchase protection program, they're estimating that it's going to be $25 million to cover that. And that's when the comment about the unbranded product comes from, and whatever. Okay, let's see. Then they were asking about ad load, and they said they might be able to jam some ads in other places. We'll see what happens with that. Yeah, this is the interesting thing, was the multiple search engines being used at one time. Okay. Now this irritated me. They were talking about, that little add to cart button that shows up on the bottom of the screen, and it makes people not go and read the description. They were actually saying that's a great thing because buyers don't need to visit the seller's listing page. Like, we want them to visit the listing page. We want them to read what they're buying. So Etsy sees that as a good thing. It's not going away. Just plan for it. Okay. Put a little graphic with information about the thing in there. It's, they were seeing that as a plus, that buyers don't need to go to the listing. Okay. It is frustrating. It is frustrating. But this is the thing. It's like they want people to come in and buy something fast and get out and then come back later because they're happy with it. Well, you need to go and see what you're buying before you buy it. Okay, they started video reviews this quarter, also the Explore app. This is just talking about things they did this quarter. The purchase protection program goes into effect next week. It's on the 1st. They will get louder on these policies through Q4. I don't remember what that was in response to. I think we'll get louder on these policies just means they're going to be talking about this kind of stuff more. This basically is telling us what kind of messages they're going to be sending to us and telling us what to do. Like when they were working on the free shipping, they were sending us the free shipping messages all the time. It's very annoying. This was an interesting phrase that he used. He said the sell on Etsy app is more lovable. And they're going to be making it more functional. They're going to be adding more stuff to it. He said it's a more lovable app. That's so sweet. Okay. Let's see. The seller's ads budget 10%, 80%. I don't understand that. They're working on displays to get people more engaged for low frequency buyers. They define buyers as like low frequency, habitual, and there's something else. I don't remember, but they try to get the people who have bought on Etsy once to come back because it's cheaper to do that than to find somebody brand new. So they're going to be working on that. Here's something that might have affected your sales if you're not in the US. They started the localized XWalk search engine in all non-US markets. It was added this quarter. So if your search results were kind of weird or your sales were kind of weird or you saw big shifts and you're not in the US, it could be because of that. They just layered that in on top of the search engine that they're using already. And it probably caused some shifts, let's see. Now, now they're talking about the revenue increased 11%, but that included Reverb, Depop, and Elo 7. So you can't really tease that apart because they don't do that. Offsite ad spend dropped in Q2, but the TV ads increased. I see a lot of Etsy TV ads when I'm watching my reality shows. I guess they think that we want to see that. Okay, let's see. GMS, gross merchandise sales, dropped year over year, but it was up over 2019 and 2020. So they dropped a little bit, but they're still up they're way up over what it was. So that's good. International sales, which means sales between countries, they were up, but not the UK. I don't remember exactly what he said. I think there were problems with the UK for whatever reason. UK sales were not up. Sorry. And I think probably all the UK sellers are like, yeah, we know. Because I've seen something in the forums about, or like in my Facebook group about that. Okay. Now this is two things, and then I'm done. I'll take some questions. The first thing they said, lower income buyers are down this year. Makes total sense because Etsy is not a place for lower income buyers, regardless of what anybody thinks, anybody wants to think. It's not someplace where you go to save money. Okay. It's just not. And this is why when people say, oh, nobody's going to be spending on Etsy, I'm like, they will be, because the people who shop on Etsy are not generally lower income buyers. Okay. They said during the pandemic, when the government was sending out all these relief checks, they were buying. Okay. But people looked at that as free money. Hey, I got my check. And they're sending me a check. And I'm like, why? I don't need this. And so I gave it to my daughter, who was a college student. So she did not qualify. It made no sense to me. I'm like, those are the people that need it. Right. So anyway, lower income buyers are down. And this is the one thing that I thought was very interesting as far as the sales statistics. It said that the home and living and the crafts categories were down, I think they said 40%. I don't remember the exact numbers, but they're both down double digits. And they didn't put, there's a little chart and they didn't put the exact number. So they must be down a lot. But that makes sense because if you think, what were people doing when they were stuck at home? They were doing crafts with their kids to try to keep them busy because they were driving them insane. And they were primping their houses, because we have to make sure everything is nice now that I'm home all the time and I realize that my house looks terrible. So home and living and craft supplies, the sales were up a lot during the lockdown, but now they're down double digits. So if you sell in either one of those categories, that could be a factor if you're seeing lower sales, because it says it's down across the board. Okay. All right. So what questions do you guys have? Because that's basically that's basically what they said. I think the most interesting thing is the stuff about, for me, it's the stuff about the search engines. I love search. I love search. And that's why I'm thinking about doing this keyword thing. Have you seen those keyword lists that you can download? I bought one once to see what it was, and it was basically just a list of words. It was useless. But I'm thinking I can do it in a better way. Okay. I'm thinking about it. But anyway, okay, let's see. I think everyone, including me, feels like they need to keep up with the undercutters on the platform to stay afloat. That's in reference to not raising your prices. I understand that. They're definitely, I have undercutters in my category, and they're making it up on the shipping end, and their lead times are way longer than mine. So it's not exactly the same thing, and people buy from me all the time, and I'm not too concerned about it. But I still, when I think about raising the prices, I give that some consideration, because you can't be so much over what the range is and still expect to make the same sales. You might make more money anyway because you're making, a little bit more on every sale, but you never know. Okay, but I understand that. Okay, we're training people to be so lazy. Oh, is that with going straight to the checkout? I don't need to read any words. Okay, people might buy more if it's an impulse buy. Going to the listing page slows that down. Still sucks for the seller, though. Yeah, that's true. Because if, like we said, we're training people to be lazy, but a lot of people are, and the less friction, we all want to get rid of friction in the buying process. So if you don't have to take the time to go and read the description, you're gonna buy some interesting stuff, but you will make more sales probably. Okay, Soba product description as one of the pictures. Oh, like to add a product description as one of the pictures. I wouldn't go that far. I would put, like, if you have things that people, like, let's say that people write to me all the time and say, is the wafer paper gluten-free? Is the wafer paper vegan? I could do like a little info card that goes in one of the photos, and it has bullet points. It says vegan, gluten-free, FDA approved, potato starch and vegetable oil, just high, like, points that people ask all the time. And I already do in my titles, I put the number of things. I've always done this. I put the number of, like, the quantity that you get in each order. So just make it as easy for the customer to get that information from that listing photo that sits in search. And you don't want to put an info card in the first photo. So there's still that, but it's better than nothing, All right. Localization definitely affecting sales. Yeah, I believe that. Okay. I believe the UK has had postal strikes, so there's been shipping issues. That could be. They said there was something about, like, complicating factors in the UK, and Brexit is probably part of it. Kind of realigning all that kind of stuff. And if there's strikes, whatever. Okay, Beth says, I sell crafting supplies. My sales this summer have been down at least 50% on both Etsy and eBay. Yeah, and that makes sense, because the supplies were in high demand when you're trying to keep your kids busy so they don't drive you crazy. I remember those days. And those were the two stores. I would go to the craft store and the bookstore. And I'd say, you kids can get whatever you want. You go ahead, get whatever you want. Anything, I don't care. Bookstore, craft store, spend my money. Okay. Because I knew it kept them busy. Right. Because, yeah. And now they both are, very creative. So, Cabbage Patch Soap says, I want to know if you have a tinfoil hat mold in your shop yet. I need one for my soap. I don't. You could just get a tinfoil hat. Yeah, that would be funny, wouldn't it? Tinfoil hat soap. Okay, will you remind us how much they were down this quarter money-wise? Let me look. I don't think they were down that much. Let me see. It says the 3 months ending June 30th, the gross merchandise sales 2022 were 3 billion. Is it billions? Is this in millions or billions? This must be in billions. 3.029. I don't even know what denomination that is. Okay. And then it's 3.041 in 2021. So they're down 0.4% decline. Okay. That's year over year. And if you look at the 6 months ending June 30th, it's actually a 1.6% growth decline. And it could be like the profit could be different. But as far as gross merchandise sales, they're down 0.4% in the last quarter and 1.6% in the full year 2022. So there is a bit of a decline, but that makes sense. And it's actually not as bad as it could be because they have retained a lot of the customers that they got before the pandemic. And if you look at the 2019 numbers, they're way up. And they do compare that to 2019 because they know that 2020 and 2021 were garbage years. So, and we should all be doing the same thing. You should all be looking at 2019 for any kind of like normal thing. It's just a normal place to look to compare. Okay, Mrs. Quill says, I find it interesting in search, especially now on social platforms, that understanding what the image is. Oh, it's social platforms that understand what the image is. Yeah. Pinterest has done that for years. And it's getting better, like Pinterest will read the text on your pins. So search engines can do a lot. Okay. Krista says, what are the downsides if I raise prices, don't get sales, and then lower them again? Should I wait a certain amount of time between price changes? Not necessarily. One thing that you can do if you're afraid to raise prices is just do it a little bit at a time, like once every 2 weeks. I wouldn't wait a long time. But let's say you have something priced at $15. Raise it to $16. See if it affects your sales. Raise it to $17. See if it affects your sales. When you get to the point where you see your sales slow down, then back off. And that is something that people do when they're selling services, because you never know, like if I'm selling consulting or I'm selling a service, how much are people willing to pay for that? You don't know until they stop paying for it. And then you say, okay, I'll back off a little bit, and you get back down to the highest number where they're still willing to pay for it. So just raise your prices incrementally, but don't wait 3 months in between. Just do it. Just do it a little bit. And if you get consistent sales coming in, then it shouldn't take too long to find that point. Okay, let's see. I also say, okay, let's see, before I look at every question, because I've been going back and putting chapters in my videos. Okay, let's see. What's next? I have been stuck at 4.7 star review in my star seller section. I've got at least 25 star reviews and it's still not changing at all. It's been so long. You might want to write to them, but it'll update. And you can remember that it goes all the way back for 3 months. So once some of those lower reviews fall off and the new ones kick in, then your averages will change. But if you're getting them coming in and it's not changing, then it could just be that it's not averaging and like rounding up, but it could be a mistake. I don't know. Just wait. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. I'm doing a video for next week on badges, like which badge is the best. And it was the Marmalade guys did some research and it was very interesting. So don't worry about it, is all I'm going to say. All right. In my images, I include material, size, and shipping information. Yeah, that's the kind of thing you can put in an image just to get it up there so they don't have to go to the description. Okay, Beth says, my sales always start to pick back up end of August, beginning of September. People start buying supplies for their craft show items. Ah, that's true. Okay, Mrs. Quill says, sorry, I meant AI in search, like artificial intelligence. Oh, as far as reading the pictures go, yes. Susan says, what about free shipping? They didn't talk about free shipping yesterday. On a customer basis, like from a customer perspective, I think free shipping is good, but I would wrap it into the item. I wouldn't do a free shipping guarantee. And that's because you can really end up losing money if you're not careful with that free shipping guarantee. If you get like an offsite ad fee and then the free shipping guarantee kicks in and it turns out to be priority and you have to send it heavier weight, just put it in on a listing basis and just have a free shipping badge. And then you don't have to worry about it. And if people buy more than one thing, you're going to be earning a little bit more because you can pack them together and it doesn't cost as much to ship, Okay, I'm hardly getting any sales as it is, so I'm scared to increase prices. But You have to figure out why you're not getting any sales as it is, and it might not be anything that you're doing wrong, but sometimes increasing prices actually helps. And I don't know what you sell, I don't know anything about your market, but I would do a little reconnaissance and see what people are charging in your market, like in your category. What's the average price range? Because a lot of times people will see two things that are similar. The lower price one, they're like, I'm suspicious of that, I want this one because it's better, and they go with the higher price one. It's very hard to say. So you can't really make any kind of generalized statement about that, but it's worth trying. Sometimes if you raise your prices a little bit, things start selling. And yeah, June says my sales increase when I increase prices. It's a weird. Yeah, Krista says my sales increase with higher prices. Every time I raise my prices, my sales increase. Yeah, it's worth trying. And I wouldn't go crazy and raise it. I don't know what you sell again. So just raise it what makes sense. But look in your category and see what the range is. Because a lot of times if things are too cheap, people think that there's something wrong with it. And we had to have our roof redone at one point, and I had 3 people come out, and these 2 guys came out, and they were so much lower than the other 2 estimates. And I said, "Why are you so cheap?" And they're like, "Oh," and I'm like, "I don't trust you, because these are guys that are going to be up on my roof. They probably are cheap because they don't pay for insurance. I don't know. I don't know why they're so cheap. They're using crappy material. I don't know. It could be that their work was perfect, just like the other 2, but I don't trust that lower price." And a lot of people are the same way, especially if you're paying for your roof. You don't want it to leak. Okay, Mrs. Quill says, to be competitive, I can't really raise my prices. That's an issue. I mean, I have the same thing with some of the things that I sell, because there's so many undercutters in my market. But with some of the other things, I'm like, I don't care. I have to raise the prices because my costs went up. There's nothing you can do about it. So it's a personal decision. You have to look at all your numbers. You have to make the decision for yourself. But don't be afraid to raise your prices to see what happens. And if it affects things really badly, you can always go back. It's hard to say. There's no one rule fits all. There's no one size fits all for anything. Okay, I think I'm going to wrap this up. I will go back and try to put in chapters on this, but I appreciate everybody being here. Give this video a thumbs up before you leave, and just subscribe to this channel. Watch the videos on it. As soon as I can get this channel monetized, I can take the ads off. And I'm sure that if you're watching this later, there's going to be an ad every 3 minutes. And that is not me. It's YouTube. I have no control over it. I apologize in advance. As soon as I can monetize this channel, I can go in and take those ads off. And that's what I have to do on my other channel all the time. And they just load it up. Just like Etsy is wanting to do, they want to load it up with ads. But it's not my fault. Just go and watch just turn this channel on and let it play. Get my watch time up. As soon as the watch time hits a certain threshold and the subscribers hit a certain threshold, I can monetize, and then I can take the ads off. It's ironic. Okay, I will talk to you guys later. Have a good afternoon. I will now watch this back. I'll put chapters in. So if you're watching, well, it's too late. If you're watching it later, it's too late to hear this. But anyway, we'll see you later. Have a good afternoon.